is George, and we're building lots of Metro-Plexes, shipping lots out, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback, and I really appreciate that. One thing that a lot of people are finding is that the EQ on the Metro-Plex doesn't work like the EQ on a vintage Marshall. And that is intentional, that's by design. So the concept for me was, when I listened to my 68 Super Lead, I wanted the Metro-Plex to be that tone effectively with everything set about noon, so that you've got a lot of range both ways to work with the frequency response. So what we have here is Plexi mode. Everything is set right at noon, except the master. I've got the master down a bit. And what you have is a nice, balanced, plenty of gain, Plexi type of a tone. Lots of lows, lots of mids, lots of highs. Take a listen. So all the frequencies are there and they're present, and what you'll find is out of all the EQs controls on this amp, the middle control is the most effective. You could literally change the overall voicing of the amp just with the middle control. So take a listen. You notice that the mid control is designed so that it affects only mid-range frequencies, which is unlike an old Plexi middle control where it's all mids, upper mids, highs. It's almost more of a shelf type of a control. So this is focused distinctly on the middle bandwidth, and because of that you can really scoop things out with losing the sort of articulation, the definition of the highs. Or you can put in lots of sort of the mid-range kind of a woody tone and really get that classic kind of a classic rock mid-range thing going on. Okay, so it's back at noon now. If you move on to the treble control, what you find is that if it's all the way down, it's dark and you take away some attack from the front of the note, and as you bring it up, it doesn't do a whole lot until you get to noon. And there's a technical reason for that in the circuit. It's actually a blend control. But what that means as a response, as a control, is that from noon up, you start to really blend in a lot of trebles. So take a listen to that. Like I said, that's where all of the attack for the front of the note, the real transient part, comes in. Okay, the bass control is going to do what you would expect it to do, but like the others, it's a lot more effective than your typical Plexi circuit. And okay, the presence control is also tweaked, and it's made to affect the sort of upper mid-range frequencies, not necessarily the really high highs. And it is intended to do kind of what the name says, just make the sound more present. you'll notice too, it can get dark and kind of sludgy with the presence all the way off. And as you bring it up, the more it brings the sound forward. So when someone plays the Metro-Plex for the first time, my suggestion is start with everything at noon, master volume to taste, of course, and then depending on your guitar, if it's dark or it's bright, your speaker cabinet, if it's dark or it's bright, it's pretty easy to know which way to go with the controls. Suggested setting that I like for a nice crunchy rhythm part is going to be Plexi mode, gain at 5, treble up to 6 or so, middle down just a smidge, bass up a smidge, treble up a smidge, kind of presence at 6, bass at 6, middle around 4, treble around 6, gain on 5. If you want a little scoopier, obviously drop the middle a little more. If you want a more aggressive tone, obviously you can switch into the modded mode, push the gain up a little bit. And even with the extra gain, if you want to bring in the woody sort of a mid-range, it takes that really well also. If you want to dial it back to more mild, sort of an overdrive and a little scoopy, leaning more towards the 45-100 tones, bring the gain back, get it around, say 3 to 4. You're going to want a little treble, maybe on 6. Scoop the mids just slightly, you know, like from 5 to 4, from noon to 11 kind of a thing. Bass up a little bit, presence up a little bit. A little less gain even yet. Add some low end. So that's just some suggested settings that I had and some ideas about why the EQ works the way that it does. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Thank you.